Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. We have a jam-packed program today. We're going to talk about what's going on with the World Cup, which many of you are excitedly watching, as am I. Yesterday, outstanding triple header that we saw. Saw two of the big boys get knocked out. In the Netherlands, Clockwork Orange is gone, and of course, we saw Germany knocked out. So anything can happen. This is a wild and woolly situation, to be sure. So going to be fun day, fun times, no question about it. No question about it. So we'll take questions and we'll have some fun here this afternoon as we get ready for game one, which will be starting in about an hour. So plenty of things to be looking out for as we get started for the World Cup today. Let's go through the games and what times they're being played. Let's start with Ivory Coast and Norway. That's the match that's going to come up. That's actually going off at about 1 o'clock. And the Ivory Coast and Norway is a game that's going to be played in Dallas at the AT&T Stadium there. Match two has my favorite in the tournament, as you know, France taking on Sweden. That's going to be played in New York at MetLife Stadium. Technically, of course, that'll be in New Jersey. And the nightcap, which should be a real barn burner. You got Ecuador and Mexico, and that is being played at the Estadio Azteca in Mexico City. So pretty sure Mexico is going to have a little bit of home field cooking there. So where can you watch the games? Here in the U.S. For those of you living here in the U.S., you can watch it on Fox, FS1, and Fox 1, which is where you can stream it. If you're in the U.K., it's the BBC, ITV. In Canada, it's TSN. If it's the French feed you're looking for in Canada, that's on RDS. And if you are in Australia, good morning. Well, actually, good late evening, I should say. You're watching on SBS. Okay, so that's where you got to go to watch the games today. All right. U.S. plays tomorrow. We'll get into that more a little bit later. We have some comments and questions. Let's see what we got. Okay. Immaculate. Hello. Good to see you, buddy. Hope everything is going well. Would you like to jump in and be a part of the show? I'd be happy to have you. Let me give you a copy and we can chat. So there you go, buddy. There you go. Click on this and come and join. Happy to have you. And we can talk what's going on. Yeah, I would like to. Sure. Jump on. Because I know there's people that follow you and me and a bunch of other folks. So by all means, come on in. Just click on the banner there and jump on in. We'll catch you up. There you go. Hello, my friend. It's been a while. How have you been?
Good. Am I coming through okay?
Yeah, coming through fine. You've been putting out some very interesting stuff lately. And, and I enjoy it personally. That's me. But, I'm a little warped to begin with. But
I just hope everyone understands that when I respond to something you say, that it's coming from like a position of respect. I know you know that, but sometimes I wonder with other people if they do.
I quit wondering a while ago.
Yeah, right. We've had a lot of talk, so
it's sometimes people are, I know that we both try to be respectable. Okay, I've been doing this for 54 years. Okay,
you have.
My name has been on everything I've ever done, whether it's been a television show, a radio show, column, or X, right?
Yeah.
I'm used to being criticized or judged or whatever you want to say. So at this point in time in my life, I really, you know, here's how I look at it. If somebody has a valid point, right, I'm more than happy to listen to it. If somebody's just got throwing stuff out there,
Yeah.
I will respectfully disagree with them or just not pay attention to it. We had an interesting question today about would Florida State and what would they bring to the table if Florida State and Miami went to the Big Ten, and I just said that they wouldn't likely, I'm talking about the Big Ten, take two teams from the same state, given the options that they have, right?
Yeah.
But I played along. I said, look, if you brought those two brands right now, as it stands, each team in the Big Ten will probably receive what would be like a 10 to 15% bump, which gets them north of 80 and right around 100. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Million per school. Now, of the group of people out there, we're talking about schools right now.
Yeah.
Who's going to bring you $100 million in value, right?
I don't think anyone does.
I don't think they do either.
That's kind of my whole point, Jim, is if this is going to happen, it isn't for that reason.
No, it's territorial more than likely.
It's systemic. It's structural. That's why I point out the 1987 thing with they created that and then people expanded because that created the value. But that was at much lower payouts. Now you've got, how do we create something that creates so much more money? Like it has to be a very big creation. And that's honestly what I believe they're doing, because we know they're talking realignment. Right. So there has to be something there.
I know Tony Petitti. I used to work for Tony Petitti. Okay.
Okay.
He is not someone who is going to onboard schools just because it makes him look good on X.
Yeah.
That's not the way he works. I know that I've spoken to people at the Big Ten. They were not overly pleased that they added so many teams last time. It stretched them out. It's, cost is killing them. They're getting beat up by the deans and the faculty who are saying, these kids are gone a long time, and how is it affecting, their grades? And, these are academic institutions.
Yes.
And that's what I try to explain to people that, as much as they want to believe that people go to universities because of the football team or basketball team, it just is, there's just no credible evidence to prove that. I mean, I've looked everywhere for it. It does not exist. Okay. You can, if you want to count it in reason why people might.
Could I point out something for that though? Because I agree with you, in large part, but I think that, we have the extreme case of Saban in Alabama, and their massively increased out-of-state student percentage and how much that's fueled Alabama's growth as an academic institution.
Right.
I'm not saying it's high up there, but it is not the Alabama of old anymore because of that. So I think everyone's looking at that, seeing the pot of gold, and not everyone can achieve that. But there is still some level of when you have similar institutions that you could choose from and you're looking to go, and part of the experience that you're going to have on there is this experience, and that's like a life experience.
Mm-hmm.
So there is some value to it, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I guess what I'm saying is not well, because I had a cherry in my mouth. Sorry.
It's okay. I should have carried it longer.
Yeah, I thought you were going to vamp a little longer. it factors into about between 8 and 15%. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So does it have impact? Yeah. In some schools, obviously more than others. Okay.
And as we go into this decline of student numbers, could that possibly increase the number? Because now, technically, the students are going to have the leverage in terms of, where they want to go. Schools are going to be doing more and more to get them. Is not having that better front porch, as they call the sports. I
Yeah,
think
but
that's a reasonable
let
thing
me
to
let me
invest.
let me throw something out there for you.
Okay.
Arizona State. You're out there
Oh,
in that area,
yeah.
right?
I get hit on this. Everyone thinks I'm like some super fan of Arizona State. I'm
No,
not.
I didn't say
Right,
that.
right, right. I know. It's like, here we go.
No. I mean, I love Kenny. Kenny Dillingham out there is doing a good
Yeah,
job.
he is.
Um, if you lived in Southern California, I have a lot of friends in Southern California. Been out there many times. Also out in Phoenix and that whole area. Um, if you wanted to leave the state to go to school, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you said, "Yeah, I don't want to go to SC or UCLA or San Diego State," or some school, in and around the LA, Southern California area. I mean, a large portion of those kids go to ASU. And as a matter of fact, so much so that ASU opened a small, it's a nice building in LA,
Yep.
not far from UCLA, as a matter of fact, where they have a campus. Now, again, they also have a very robust, again, we're talking about Arizona State, a robust um, online university as well. But what they found after they joined the Big 12 is there was a huge decline from people coming from Southern California. And there was a article done in the LA Times that they basically asked what was going on. And the kids were saying, basically, we're talking now again, well, the reason we went to ASU was so that we could, bust on the C and the UCLA kids, and what now? We don't see them, we don't play them.
Yeah.
We play teams, we don't even know who the hell they are.
Yeah.
So I do believe the front porch theory. It's just for some schools it holds water, right? But
it's where relationships matter too. Then.
Yeah, relationships. But here's where I think it doesn't hold water. And that is when you start talking about I don't know anybody that went to the University of Virginia or Pitt or, or, I mean, anywhere in the ACC. Yeah, I went to Wake Forest because, Arnold Palmer went to school there once. No, it's just, I mean, you want to go to school where you're going to get the education. Now, if they have a good a good sports program, that's great. It's a super situation. Hell, there's more people that are interested in University of Maryland lacrosse than there is in University of Maryland football.
True story, because they're the best.
So, that's where I get, by the way, I live about, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes away from Johns Hopkins.
Okay. All right. You got me.
And so you go by Johns Hopkins and there's a Big Ten sign up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're an affiliate member of the Big Ten for one sport only.
Yep.
Lacrosse.
Yep. Men's 2 programs, 1 sport. That's it.
That's it. People forget that the University of Chicago is still part of the Big Ten.
Well, you got to get a little pushback from me on that one. And they're not even listed anymore as an affiliate of the
which one?
University of Chicago.
Mm-hmm. They're a what do you call, research affiliate.
They were part of the CIC.
Yeah.
They separated from the CIC to join the IPLC, and God,
Right.
I'm sorry, I don't have the year on hand.
Don't worry, it was in the 70s.
Well, yeah, something like that. And I think it was a little bit later than that. But anyway, to the point, when that happened, they changed the entire name of the thing from CIC to BTAA, the Big Ten Academic Alliance, and made it like now you got to be a full member to be part of it. Although I'm pretty sure they would change that for JHU in a heartbeat. But they don't list them on anything. Like you can go to their website and it shows members, and it doesn't have Chicago listed at all.
No,
now they're still going to be connected in because I'm sure some of their research, their combined research, is still used in some projects. So it's kind of like you can't really cut them out fully, but they're not really I don't think they're an active part of it now as much anymore.
Both Johns Hopkins and Chicago, University of Chicago, are definitely involved in their research grant deals, right? But those are separate from the athletic department. And so I don't think that that's, again.
If they are, it's by individual choice. Though.
Right,
like
exactly.
They're not a part of the BTA. They're not held to it.
No.
It's like, just like Stanford can do that with whatever school they want.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Stanford has a thing with Duke.
And that's why they have JHU there, is because, well, now we rub shoulders and elbows with each other during those games. And you can have individual relations because JHU is a monster. Like, it's an absolute monster. So, but that's what I'm saying. That's all that really Chicago is now. I mean, they went over to where JHU is with their actual affiliation with the Ivy Leagues.
Right.
So I don't really, personally, I don't consider Chicago.
I don't think the University of Chicago has got a Big Ten banner hanging out of any of the schools.
Although if they want to start up sports again, I hear there might be a stadium in downtown Chicago just waiting.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with it.
Like, you got to play soldier? Let's start playing football, guys.
Oh man, I will. In the summertime, that's a cold place. It's just
it can be, yeah. It's a special breed there.
It's right on the lake.
Yep.
So
I'm born and raised 3 hours from there, so I'm
okay. So
very familiar with it down there. And like I said, the Chicago folks are kind of a special breed for that.
Yeah, my brother lived there for 5 years. When I see the Big Ten stuff, of course, the Big Ten is located in Chicago. I used to do a lot of work with WGN over on Bradley, and I will say this, and I'm going totally off script here for a second, but the coldest I've ever been was I did a DePaul and Georgetown basketball game. And the wind temperature, and you remember they play out, by the airport, by O'Hare at the, what the heck do they call that place? I forgot.
Is it the
Horizon.
The Rosemont.
Rosemont. The Horizon in Rosemont. And the wind chill was 14 below zero. And the actual air temperature was like 4 degrees. And you're out there, there's nothing to block it. You don't have the buildings that you do in downtown. And so the wind was just whipping like crazy. And so much so that Bob Lee was doing the game with Vital. And Bob when he walked in the building, the wind was blowing so bad it blew his contact out.
Jeez.
So he had
as someone who wears contacts, that's kind of startling.
Yeah, he was stunned. So he had to wear the glasses the whole time. But it was one of those things where you're like, and then by the way, the place was packed. So you're like, and it was on at WGN, and it was also on ESPN. So it's like, you can sit at home and watch this, but no, you have to come out here and this. But it's a special breed. These guys go out, people of Chicago are used to it, and they go out and they have that whole situation. So anyway, back to the thing. What I keep telling people, and I don't know if they want to hear it or they don't pay attention to it or they don't care, is that the Big Ten and the SEC are going to get paid regardless. They don't have to add another person, and they're going to get paid.
Yes.
So what you're doing right now is pushing the boundary, right? How much is an extra brand going to bring to the table before I basically, turn my potential group of investors off? And
Yes.
that, I think, is something that people aren't understanding. I try to tell them that, yes, they have budgets, okay?
Mm-hmm.
These budgets have never been any more scrutinized than they are now, because the cable situation, which used to be the lifeblood of all this, is drying up. The streamers who want in, right, only want premier stuff. They're not looking for packet. They'll take on, they'll take on a package of games that is not. I mean, Apple's more likely than others to, onboard, the Olympic sports and such. But other than a Friday night game or a primetime Saturday game or something like that, I know for a fact that Prime's not interested. Netflix is not interested. I mean, they just want the special deal, right? They want
Mm-hmm.
something to be special. So I don't think, I mean, if the Big Ten opens up another window, which might be Friday night from what I hear, that they might consider, that might be, you know, a way to add more revenue. But, there gets to a point where 80 to $100 million, that's a lot of money
It's an
over
extremely,
a long period of time, which
which is
is
why I
7 years.
say you got to look in a different direction, because the old ways in which this used to happen, which we're both familiar with,
Right.
that's not going to cut it. Like I can't even look at Notre Dame and say that gets it for you. I mean, that's maybe the one, and that's why it's always kind of been where the Big Ten's looked at, even though Notre Dame wants nothing to do with them.
Right.
So that doesn't work. And you brought up UW and UO
Mhm.
earlier, but that's because the Big Ten presidents actually wanted
Right.
Washington. They didn't want them to get damaged or get stuck in what the Big 12 was going to do with like this long term gore.
Mhm.
So it was like just you figure out a way to do it to get it done, and that has similarity to what we're seeing now, which is why I'm guessing
Mhm.
you're very active. Is that we can see there is a push to get realignment done ahead of schedule because they're worried that they're going to get cut off from it as a resource.
Yeah, but
Um,
here's the thing.
so,
Oh, go
so
ahead.
if I finish that real quick and
Sure.
then back to your show,
No, go ahead.
they have to do. This is why I bring up the 1987 situation. They have to do more than just add brands. They have to create revenue creating structure
Right.
and then fill in with their expansion for it. And we're not talking about a time when you could just add a CCG, a conference championship game, and
Mhm.
boom, your boost numbers. I mean, it has to be large. That's why we're talking 24-team CFPs. We're
Mhm.
talking possibly getting back to multiple divisions within conferences to create new rivalries to boost the value of regular season games, because that's
Mhm.
still where the largest amount of value is for these guys.
Mhm.
So that's why I try not to be disrespectful how I go forward, but it's like the discussion about which brand adds this value. It's like, well, the easy answer is none. It's
Right.
it's about
And nobody
what
wants to
you
hear that.
no, I know that's where you're different than me. Like I come out here, I'm anonymous. I'll just kind of punch people in the mouth with this, and
Right.
you're very diplomatic about getting to it. But I think folks do need to hear this right now because we are in
Mhm.
that window
Yeah.
of they are, now that they know that their whole movement in Congress has been co-opted. They have to go create what they have been working on.
Right. But I don't know about you. I see this. Let's use. Let's we'll follow. You just talked about Congress. We're in the midterms right now for college sports, right?
Yeah.
What's happening is not that the Big Ten and the SEC, or for that matter, the Big 12, is looking to expand. It's the campaigning that's being done by the schools who want to end up in a perfect world, in their own perfect world, in a Big Ten or an SEC. Um, so what we're seeing here is a lot of buzz being created, not by the conferences, but by the schools who want to be part of a conference.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm
Yeah.
hearing nothing from anybody I've speak to at either the Big Ten or the SEC that leads me to believe they're interested in adding anybody.
I think, yeah, because I think they're more interested in these creations. Like, first, they had to figure out from Congress how
Mhm.
much help are we going to get there, because we got to do this autonomous thing, the
Right.
new subdivision, and we have to know how much we have to cover ourselves from antitrust. I mean,
Yeah.
if we get no help, that means we have to make a lot of decisions individually as conferences that
Right.
are different from each other, so that way we can say, hey, look, we're not colluding.
Hmm.
If they get protection, then it's like, okay, now we can be a little more centralized in our
Right.
approach.
Mhm.
So they need to know what they're doing. And I think they just got that signal, Jim. I think that they got that loud and clear when their move, what they were trying to do with Congress, got co-opted from them. Now they know we have to go heavy autonomy, not leaving, not
Right.
breaking away, but they're going to have to go heavy, which means you need some of your DA4 to be very different from the others, to
Hmm.
where that they would want to create some rules that are different from the others. That's why I talk about the ACC becoming a
Hmm.
much different thing, because those guys are going to be worried about transfers. They've all had to give
Hmm.
way. These elite
Right.
privates have had to give way on, like, oh, we got to lower standards for our student
Hmm.
athlete transfers to come in. They don't like that. You know that, Jim, right?
Yeah, they're not gonna.
So what they have been, so this,
Well, they
so
have, but what I'm saying is that
by having their own conference where they can
right,
have their own specific rules for that, they
they
can
can
go back in time and they
right.
can shift back to where they want to be. And that then in turn creates an antitrust,
Right.
non-collusion protection for all four. Because it's like, look, we're making our own rules. So when people think about this movement, and they're
Hmm.
thinking about value of the schools to leave the ACC,
Right.
you got to think about that bigger picture too, of there might actually be some of those schools in the ACC that want them to go. That's why the price is so high. Like,
Right.
you're going to leave, you're going to take a bunch of value, but you're going to leave us with this big pile of money that's
Right.
coming in, 20 years time. And that's why I say, like, this is almost pushing realignment as much as like individual value. It's what they have to do in the future, because now they know they're going to have to go heavy autonomy,
Yeah.
heavy. So
Yeah.
that's my thoughts on it. Is like,
No,
there
and I
are
think
things pushing it. It's just not what
yeah.
we're used to.
Right. I mean, there's unforeseen circumstances going on here,
Yeah.
and the other part of the equation, which is to me fascinating, is that when you try to explain that networks are running right now, ESPN, Fox, CBS, NBC, and Amazon are absolutely terrified about what the amount of money they're going to have to pay for the NFL. And
Yeah, they're
that's
getting old.
largely due to Adam Silver's $76 billion deal that he got for the NBA. So Roger Goodell looks over at, you know, 20 blocks away, from where he is, and says, you got to be kidding me. They got $76 billion for the NBA. If they get $76 billion for the NBA, well, then, what the hell? We need more money. We're talking, and we're just talking about, you know, early returns here, not any solid numbers, but I've heard from CBS guys and NBC guys, they're talking 50% increase.
It's tough. Yeah.
So, there's only a finite amount of money these people have, right? And it's not,
yes and no.
yeah.
Go ahead, keep going. I'll put the keep going.
No, I mean, the streamers can throw money at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can throw money, but what I'm saying is, every dollar that's spent on the Big Ten, right, is a dollar not spent somewhere else. And that could either be, if you're Fox, that could be the Big 12 conference, okay? If it's ABC, it could be, it could be another conference, or it could be to hang on to the property they have, right? If it's CBS, because remember now, CBS will, by the end of this summer, be in charge of Turner Sports.
Yep. That got approved, and you were writing about that. Yeah.
So the money there, it's not like they just onboarded money. The reason that they got it was because the Warner was going bankrupt,
and they wanted to keep the streamers from getting into their realm.
Right. They there was a lot of political aspects to that, because that deal could have gone to Netflix.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, oops.
Yeah. So that's all. It does, just because they added Turner doesn't mean they added Turner's budget. As a matter of fact, they added Turner's portfolio of content, and CBS is going to have to figure out how to pay for it.
Although they are getting that just after Turner is no longer doing the NBA thing, so there is of like they have been lightened considerably.
There's a, but then they don't want to lose baseball, and that's coming up here in 2028. Yeah. They're already talking baseball.
Can I push back a little bit on the whole? Sure. Like, you know more about this. I'm not trying to go off as like I know better, what I think doesn't quite. And this is my take on it. Tell me if I'm wrong, but
sure.
What doesn't quite get spoken about enough is the money that gets paid to like these leagues, these conferences.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really coming from like this pot over here. It comes after the fact, after revenue has come in, after, from their advertisers. So really it comes down to, is the NFL, the NBA, baseball, are they decreasing the value for college sports, for college football in general? Or is that value still there and increasing? Because if it is, I think they can do it all, because the money's that they're going to use to pay college football is coming from college football.
Basically, when you're budgeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a network, and let me just peel that back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
When I say it's $100 million, okay, that's not necessarily the cash. It's not necessarily cash, okay. It can be equated. Let's use the term, the number 80, okay. $80 million can be cash. $20 million can be promotion, etc. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a value of $20 million, but it's not an actual dollar.
Okay.
So I can say that each school value is getting $100 million. Are they getting $100 million in actual cash? No. They're getting $80 million in actual cash and $20 million per school in some sort of promotion and marketing and otherwise product that's coming from CBS and the other networks in what they're doing to promote each and every university and how they're working with them. So, and that also goes for the NFL, it goes for the NBA, it goes for, it's why Turner, when they made their bid, which they screwed up and they let it go to open market, the reason they couldn't match, they threw the same number up Prime had, right?
But they can't match the media.
And and Adam goes, you know that the reason we're at Prime is because they can do this, this, and this, and you can't do that.
Yeah.
So, they're 76, whatever Prime ended up paying versus whatever Turner was willing to come back and say, well, we'll match it or we'll go a little bit ahead of it. It didn't matter because it wasn't the same deal. So each one of these deals are different. Okay. You can't compare any of them really. What you can look at that you brought up is the value there. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And right now, the value is in two conferences, the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference. Now, and nobody here is going to want to hear this, but it's got to be said. The Pac-12 and the ACC are tier 2 in the eyes.
You mean the Big 12? You mean the Big 12 and the ACC?
Did I say Big 10?
You said Pac-12.
Oh, Pac-12. Oh, yeah, that was a definite.
It has part of it in it, but yeah, I'm just saying that for clarity for anyone listening.
No, thank you.
I knew what you meant, but I'm like,
yeah, thanks. I greatly appreciate it. I'm having PSD from last year. Last cycle.
We're about there with media days, but go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. But so the value, is there value in what the Big 12 and the ACC have? Yes. Is that value worth more than, your mark is looking at 50 million per member. That's what he's hoping to get. Here's the thing that I'm curious about with Brett. He's a smart guy. Okay. There's no question about that. He's done very well. He happened to be in a really good place at the perfect time to grab those 4 corner schools.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, you're there. You added 8 teams last time. You're not going to add another 5 or 6 teams this time. That's not going to happen. And it's not going to increase your value. And oh, by the way, the reason they got the capital is because what the theory of the case is, if I want to go, pluck Virginia Tech or one of those other schools off the ACC board, they're going to, at 2030, everybody in the ACC can leave, but they have to pony up $75 million. And that $75 million stays in place all the way to the end of the contract. So I've got to get out of a $75 million deal.
Right. And that capital money they got's not near enough for that. But
no,
it is enough for a certain other university that you're very fond of. Mm-hmm. And their exit amount, whom also happens to be connected to that fund too. So I think it's more about USF.
Yeah, it could very well be. Will Weatherford, was on the board. He was instrumental in getting the state to pony up money for the new stadium on campus. He has since left the university to become part of the Tampa Bay Rays, deal to try to get that stadium pushed through. So I guess my point is this. The interesting thing that I'm curious about with Brett Yormark is he has said he hasn't guaranteed it, but he has said that he would like to take the Big 12 to the open market, which means that he would let the ESPN and Fox deals go away. And I think
go away.
No, what he wouldn't. They have a 6-month window. This is the same thing that happened to the Pac-12, right? They had a 6-month window where they had exclusive rights to negotiate. Klyakov, they hit Klyakov for the number. Klyakov said no, let it go. They went to open market. That's the same thing that could happen. And again, what I'm saying is they going to the open market. They could say about the window, you know what? Brett figures, all right, I'm going to go to the open market. I'm going to see what CBS has got. I'm going to see what, NBC streamers, what other people are going to be out there and and then of course, you, Fox, and ESPN will come back and bid, right? Well, if I'm at Fox and ESPN and I've hit you with a number and you say no, what incentive do I have to come back and bid against myself?
Well, okay, so there's a lot there to unpack. One, kind of some of the structural difference between the Big 12 and the Pac-12 situation is that the Big 12 is in all 4 time zones. The Pac-12, the biggest thing holding them back was that they weren't, and they went all in for the attempt for the Big 4 and missed. If they would have taken kind of what was being offered,
they're not in all 4 time zones because
they're not, right?
Arizona isn't. During the football season,
they're in the important ones. Like you can not be in the Western time zone, and you still fill every.
You could bump the game back an hour, and you'd be in the Pacific time zone.
Yeah, but there's specific start times, right? And the Pac has not been able to be a part of that very start of the 12 Eastern, 11 Central time, which is pretty important. So it's always detracted from their value considerably because there's just a ton of content you're not offering that the others are. Like to think that you're equivalent to them when you're not offering that, it's hubris. The Big 12 is not in that situation. That being said, they were starting this work with TNT. TNT was getting Big 12 content from ESPN.
Right.
I think ESPN, and now ESPN's let TNT have half the CFP. I think the networks were wanting TNT to kind of become this third leg, so to speak, to help them prop us up without having this big opening to the streamers. So I still think that that's the case with CBS TNT, that they'll probably end up taking a bunch of the Big 12. And I know you'd say, well, they got all these other stuff going on. And that's where I come in and say, the value is still there as long as the viewership is there. Whatever the viewership has been, you can still do that. And they have the kind of the windows for it because now how many channels are they going to have? I think that CBS Sports is now trying to become equivalent to ESPN and Fox in terms of size and scope. So that's what I would do if I was Yormark. I would be reaching out to them saying, we would like to be with you and then have at least a partial deal with Fox, because Fox in basketball, Big 12, Big East, right. Big 10, that's not going to end. I could see ESPN letting them go though, and it being a CBS Fox house.
There's a potential there. The deal with where TNT ended up landing in this, ironically, goes back to the basketball.
And the NBA.
And the NBA.
Yep.
That was a deal that they didn't want to pay money for the studio show, with Ernie, Chuck, Kenny, and Shaq.
Yep.
And the way they got out of paying it was they gave them college football playoff games and actually even a championship shot later down the line.
Well, they gave them 2, but it just got announced that in this coming 12 team, TNT has half of the games.
Yeah,
there's
no
way they gave that for a studio show.
No.
They got leveraged by TNT.
It was a sub license deal.
Right. But they need them to cover the games that coincide with the NFL.
ESPN they have windows that are problems for them.
The NFL game windows.
The NFL game windows plus they've got some SEC commitments which, and ACC commitments which preclude them from, adding some stuff that they would like to have done for the Big 12. There's been conversations between the ESPN and Amazon about subleasing games of the ACC to to them, and it started this entire. It's going to start this year with Duke doing some basketball,
Yep.
and they've got 3 games that will be played on neutral sites, starting with a game in Vegas, I think, early on in the season against UConn.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's going to be sub-licensing. There's no question.
And a big part of that, if I might interject real quick, is that Disney, very interestingly, has separated out the television side of this, ESPN, ABC, into its own separate entity, which, in my opinion, there are others out there who have spoken about this, is ripe for either selling it or, and this is what I think is going to happen, taking in an investor, a partner in that, so that way that investor partner doesn't have any rights or say to the other aspects of the Disney business.
Well, the same thing. Comcast announced this morning they're doing the same thing with Universal. And let me lay on to what you're saying.
Okay.
The future for them, for the long-term, viability, for lack of a better way of putting it, of these organizations, these networks, is that Apple, Amazon, and these others who really aren't in the programming business can become partners. And I've had 100 people tell me, why would ESPN get into bed with Amazon? Well, it's because or Apple, either one, right? Which they already do. So it's like they would do it because it makes money.
You remember that Disney talked about actually merging with them at one point in time.
At one point, yeah.
Like this is high up stuff. Like it's just, I think that Apple is going to end up being the partner there, and Amazon's just going to get some individual stuff. I think that we're going to see that happen though.
I think Amazon is going to go Comcast, and I think Apple's going Disney.
All right, I'm with you on that. I think that, and largely what Apple's going to get is going to be this ACC content, and for them, people might be like, "Well, that's not great," but it is, because if you look at the ACC and who's going to become the ACC, those are actually some of your biggest all around like Olympic sports athletic departments, right. And that's great for Apple Plus.
You hit it perfectly. Okay, and let me. I mentioned this in a column I wrote a while back. Apple and Amazon are worldwide brands.
Yes.
The ACC, with their Olympic sports, has a tremendous amount of international kids that are playing events that are Olympic events. Olympic events play real well outside the United States.
100%.
So I'm investing. I've seen conversations, and that I talked to Eddie Q because we talked about this, and I've written about it, of Apple. And the reason Eddie wanted to buy the Pac-12 network.
Yep, that was their big other.
Right, that was Eddie actually offered in the column that I wrote for Forbes. Eddie offered to buy it the year before they tanked, before the season was, basically saying, this is my proof of concept, right? Let me show you what I can do with your stuff. and let me just buy the damn network.
What school president was the head of the PAC committee for figuring out their future television contract?
I think it was Arizona, wasn't it?
It was Washington.
Oh, Washington. Well, that.
So,
Well, thank you, Judas. Yes.
Just saying. I mean,
and I get a big kick out of everybody going, well, look at what Phil Knight did. Phil Knight didn't do a damn thing. Washington did it. They run Phil Knight.
Everyone thinks that the Big Ten wanted more. It was like, no, that was just.
No, they already have Kevin Plank at Maryland. What do they need? They don't need. They got what they wanted. They don't need this.
Fox said no. They're coming with them, and the Big Ten's like, okay, fine.
Yeah,
they wanted Washington, they wanted Washington with USC.
Yeah, that didn't fly.
But USC's like, no, that's too far away.
Yeah, I don't want
Seattle and LA are a long ways away for.
Yeah, well,
they didn't know there was going to be a 17.
The original was Stanford and SC because they're both they were both independent. I mean, they're both
believe you.
Private schools, and didn't have to worry about anything.
And it's like the ultimate Notre Dame bait.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a side thing, but
and the other thing is you get the San Francisco market.
Yeah, it was supposed to be USC Stanford. Stanford was like, "Oh, nope. we'll join for football only because they don't want to join the BTAA."
Right.
And they said no. And honestly, people think like the Big Ten talking. USC was doing this. Like it's called toward use interference. This is all USC talking to Stanford, talking to
right.
And Stanford. How does Notre Dame have BYU on the hook, ready, knowing that this whole USC Big Ten thing is going to happen? It's because Stanford told them well in advance. Like this whole thing kind of was a mess from the very get-go.
Oh, it was an absolute mess.
I mean, people say, why is no one saying this? Why is no one reporting this? Because it's a mess. You don't report this stuff.
Well, first of all, you got back to tortious interference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to blow the whistle on myself? What am I nuts?
No. And neither is anyone who wants to maintain you as a source.
Right.
I mean, just be real about it. Like, if I was in the business, I wouldn't. I'd be like, heck no, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
No. It's like, this is stuff that, it's the old joke about, you don't want to see how the sausage is made, right?
Yeah.
And in this particular case, you definitely don't want to see how the sausage is made, and you don't want to be part of it. And when the academic side of it comes into play, and going back to your point, I could easily see Eddie and Apple buying the ACC's portion of the ACC network, in a sub-license with ESPN.
100%. I mean,
it would be pennies on the dollar for them.
ACC network on the Apple Plus available for anyone around the world to come watch, like Stanford Olympics, Virginia Olympics, Duke Olympics. Like it's a way to monetize something that doesn't get monetized here. Yeah. I've been saying it. I was like, I think that thing is just on hold until the time is right. Like it's kind of a fait accompli done deal. Like they were all ready to do it, and you remember they kind of Disney was like, "Well, we're holding up on forming this up." Like,
well, Jim Phillips is not foolish. Okay,
no,
he's not an idiot.
No, he's not. No, he's not. People take shots, but it's like that guy's.
He's not George Kliavkoff.
No,
and he doesn't have George Kliavkoff's. I mean, the fighting that goes on, the intermingling fighting between, I mean, it's not like FSU doing stealth work about that. We want to get out of the conference. They're buying billboards. It's like, let us out.
And that settlement allows for direct communication. That's what people don't get. It's like that was like all the numbers, all that stuff was cool. But
meaningless.
When I saw it, it was like the fact that you don't have to go through secondary sources just to talk about it. You could just call up on the phone, be like, "Oh yeah, we're looking at this." Like they were giving free and clear status to go and find another home. You just have to pay this,
right?
And that is so huge. I don't think people understand how big that is. That also means the people who are looking to stay there don't mind if you go. They just want you to give them a big pile of money on the way out the door.
I had a guy from Pitt in the athletic department. You know, we exchanged emails and a couple of texts, and I asked him, "Are you going to the Big 12?" And I got
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
a very funny GIF, which I will not share, but
I'm sure.
but it was a funny one. And he goes, "You know what? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me." We changed conferences once, and that didn't work out. So no, we have no interest in going to the Big 12, and because they don't even see it as a lateral move. It's just not. You go, look, there's nothing there that matches up with what we're into. And now, I will get a ton of people from the Big 12 being
Yeah, you're gonna get it.
all over me. It has nothing to do with the universities that are in that, in that conference. It has to do with the philosophy and comfort that they have now with the people they have now. They, you know,
And if they're going to change that, they want a certain increase. Like,
well, I mean, it's not even that. I mean, it's not even about the money for them. I mean, that's the other thing. It's about when does this merry-go-round stop? And why are we, what we'll have a better idea in 2036 about what's going on in this crazy college sports world than we will in 2030. So what's 6 more years of staying where you are and finding out what's going on? I mean, look at what happened. You had the Big 12, had the Pac 12 been able to hang together for one more year, then Turner would have been sitting right there needing something.
That's probably the best point that I was sitting there going, no. Then you said, I'm like, oh, well, you might be right. It's just not having anything for that first window of football games. Man, people don't want to look at it from that side of things, but that's what killed them. That's why they couldn't get equal value, because in the end it was like, look, there's this whole big major window that you can't offer anything for. From a network standpoint, you are not the equivalent of the Big Ten. You are not the equivalent of the SEC. You're not even really the equivalent of the Big 12, because
I would have, if it were me, and nobody asked, but if it were, I would have gone and onboarded like Bill, Bowlesby did. I would have ran east and onboarded
anyone.
5 or 6 schools. I would have built an I-10 ramp. I would have gone,
sure,
in large part because I'm a South Florida person, but I would have gone USF, Tulane, Rice.
For the Pac?
I could have gotten SMU because they hadn't gone anywhere yet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe UNLV.
For the Pac?
Yeah.
I mean, you could go there.
That would have given me the time zones I needed.
All you need though is the Central. Like Eastern is great because of all the people. I get it, but all you really needed from the network standpoint of all of a sudden having an offering for that starting window.
They could have had SMU.
Like what they could have had, which my findings. I mean, I don't know what you can say about this. But the early plan was to divide up the Big 12 like what ended up happening with the Pac, because they wanted to get to 4 major conferences for some of the stuff that they're going to build. But as all things, great logic plans tend to get torn apart by human, individual, what we want. The schools that networks and everyone wanted the Pac-12 to take, some of the members of the Pac-12 absolutely did not want it to, like Stanford. You want to take what would be considered the lowest value schools of the Big 12 and put them into the Pac-12, because all you really need are those central locations. So like like Iowa State, Kansas State, like Oklahoma State, and then like one in Texas, or two Texas ones, and then those, just so you have those locations, and that uses the value of those schools in a better way than they could be used in the Big or the SEC or the ACC. But they didn't want that, so they went after the big hit, right? And if it had worked, then it works, but it didn't. So they had.
What are you talking about, when Larry Smith tried to get Oklahoma and Texas?
Texas and Oklahoma and Texas Tech and Oklahoma State.
Right.
And it is essentially, it blackballed them, right? Like they became the pariah because they went against this whole thing that the conferences and the networks were all trying to get this thing put together. And the Pack is basically like, nah, we don't want those. We want these. And
that was the turn. Larry had that thing done. It was George. It was Skipper that blew that up by giving the. He didn't want the Big 12 torn up, so he calls up and tells Texas, "I'll give you the Longhorn Network."
They were already kind of in talks about that. I know because Bowlesby even talked about that in a
right, but there was,
presentation.
John accelerated that.
Sure,
he didn't want to see.
I would say they were close, but I think that closeness is really also, like I said, it kind of was like. That's, in my opinion, that's a big reason why Fox and ESPN just really lowballed them, because they needed a conference to go away, and the whole plan to do that with the Big 12 basically got shot by the Pac. So
I think to an extent that's right, but I also think that if they would have accepted the 36 or whatever the hell it was, I forget what it was, but it was under 40. If they accepted that, and they had taken Eddie Q's money for the network, that would have given a pretty nice little chunk of change there. That would have taken them north of 40.
Oh, that Pack with those four would have been very steady. Like it would have been a monster.
But the problem is that you had Kliakov, who wasn't necessarily a TV guy, and you had, as you said, the president of Washington, Brutus back there, waiting with the knife to cut it out.
They knew where they wanted to be.
So there's that. But I do think that we're going to see some interesting stuff here down the road. And I agree with you 100% that any movement in the SEC or Big Ten is going to be strategic, not driven by, I can easily see North Carolina being the top
SEC all the way.
SEC brand that they want. I don't see Clemson in the Big Ten.
No, they're also SEC because
they
bring a lot of CFP value for how they've figured out their ownership payout. So that's where they're. Plus, they got that Notre Dame deal to kind of push it over the pitch.
There's a kind of a, and this is going to get me in trouble because I truly do like FSU, and the people up there, and have for many years. There's an ambivalence in the Big Ten toward FSU. I'm not saying no, not saying yes.
And that goes back a little ways.
Yeah, the SEC, offered them membership, like I think 4 times, and they didn't take it. Bowden didn't want to be in the same conference with Florida.
I do think it's a different situation now, but that is a good point. I think that's.
Oh, look, they right now. Think about this. Go back a little ways, right? What was going on the day that the SEC announced that they had gotten Texas and Oklahoma.
Remind
Remember
me. I
that
know
day?
you got something.
That day was the day that Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M had their press day at the SEC press gathering for football. Jimbo Fisher found out that Texas was coming to the SEC as he was walking up to the podium in Destin, Florida, for the to talk about Texas A&M sports, football coming, that fall.
That's some good timing.
That if that isn't the biggest fu, I don't know what is. It's like, so don't tell me that Florida's going to keep Florida State out. Don't tell me that Clemson's going to keep.
I actually think Florida would like it, but I think Georgia would keep them out, because if Florida State comes in, Georgia will never get that rivalry game with Florida to be in the final week of the season.
I'll tell you what, as somebody who was an ardent Florida fan for many, many years, because when I graduated from USF, dinosaurs roamed the earth, and they didn't have a football team. So the rivalry between Florida and Georgia is massive. The rivalry
games, right?
between Florida and Florida State is absolutely, I'm not sure it means anything to either of them anymore. Miami's more of a rival to Florida State than Florida is.
I agree with you that. I mean, I do think the Florida State-Florida one means something, but I think the Florida-Georgia rivalry has absolutely taken priority.
Bitter. And that's been over years. I mean, we're talking about decades of that. Yeah. Florida State wasn't competitive for a long time, and Florida just ate their lunch. And then Florida State became competitive, but it didn't matter because Florida still hates Georgia. And that rivalry is never going to be outshined by Florida State. It's not going to happen. So I don't think that matters. Does it matter? I mean, they already recruit against each other, so that's not.
It doesn't. That here's why I say this, because I am 100% a believer that part of the future 24 CFP, when they split the subdivisions, the 4 conferences will each send in 6. You're gonna have that's gonna give they're gonna then make their new divisions, and so within that you're gonna want these rivalries in those divisions, and the culmination of that at the end of the season will be those rivalry games. And so with Georgia and Florida being in the same division, obviously in the future, you want that game to no longer be mid-season. You want it to be at the end. But if you bring in Florida State and then you try to not have that game be, you're going to run into problems with the state of Florida. It's just a lot simpler if the Big Ten does the SEC the favor of taking Florida State, because then no longer is ESPN also standing in the way by saying, hey, we want Florida State and Florida, which are both, ACC, SEC, having that game at the end. And SEC can do the SEC thing of moving that rivalry game to the end of the season. So that's why I say, like, Florida State and Georgia Tech.
Logic, yeah. I follow your logic, and I will accept that as a possibility.
That's fair. I'm not saying, like, this is for sure, because this is just my
none of it's for sure. I mean, we're just
right.
We're just having some fun.
That's one of the positives for Florida State and Georgia Tech to go to the Big Ten. It's not the overriding number one reason, but if you add that on top, it's a little bit of extra icing, and a little bit of why the Big Ten, the SEC, could look at each other and be like, we can work together here.
Well, I think that when I say that Florida State's not on the top rung of the Big 12, Big 10, I'm sorry. Doesn't mean that they don't that they don't realize the value of the school, and so could they show up at the Big Ten? Sure.
I look at Florida State like I look at Oregon, and I look at Georgia Tech like I look at Washington. Like that's the relationships to the network that I see. Like the presidents are going to like Georgia Tech. They'll be okay with Florida State. NBC, CBS looking for, especially NBC with the late
yeah,
night games, having games down in the South at the end of the season where it's actually still nice weather is huge.
yeah.
So
Well, I mean, I
that's where
can
that
see
comes in.
this. I can follow your logic here and say that a Florida State game is a lot sexier than a Georgia Tech game.
Correct.
So I could see that. I mean, if you're going to go that route,
Because they're not going to bring in Georgia Tech to the SEC.
no, and they're not
And
going to bring
so
Georgia Tech
that's
into
still
the
going to
Big
be a problem for Georgia, even if you're bringing Florida State and Florida. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's still a problem. But both of those, as a combination, to the Big Ten makes the Big Ten and the SEC happy. It makes CBS, NBC, and Fox
Well,
happy.
if we're going to follow that logic out, right?
Mhm.
Then the three biggest games, rating games for Florida every
Mhm.
year, obviously is the Georgia game, number one. The Tennessee game is number two.
Mhm.
And then there would be the Florida State game.
Yep.
So you would, if we follow your logic, that would make sense because you're going to get the ratings with Georgia, and you don't play Georgia at the end of the season anyway.
Yep.
So you're going to
Lose
get
that game.
You don't play Tennessee at the end of the season either.
Nope.
So that game is going to be fine. So you're gonna keep your core Florida, you know, highest rated games without having to, you know, jeopardize anything.
Even better. Even better. Because Tennessee is probably also in that division with those two. So now both of those games get a bump in value, a bump in quality because it's a divisional race game.
Mm-hmm.
And the Florida State game, when we have the situation where conferences are sending in teams to the CFP,
Right.
basically only conference games are going to matter for that. And then they might have a situation where all of them do. We'll see. But the Florida State Florida game now moved to the beginning of the season,
Mm-hmm.
gives it that exhibitionary value that helps carry value for those early season OSC games when they may no longer have as much value towards the CFP. Because that when that day comes, they're going to want to make as many of those early season OSC games like big, heavy games because it won't matter as much if you lose, but you also have to have it be a matchup that sells. So that's where I think like Florida State, early season, big matchup. Those fandoms are going crazy. Just you need college football. I would put it first week. I would put that game first week of the season. Florida State. I mean, people in that state are going to go nuts. Absolutely. I think it boosts the value of that rivalry because, like you're saying, it's taken second fiddle. So that's what I would do with it.
And I'm going to, you know, one of the things that I would like to see, only because it during the time that it happened was so much fun, and I do think that these two schools would like to do this on an annual basis. I would love to see Notre Dame and Miami play each other.
Oh,
on a yearly basis.
When we go autonomy conferences, there's going to be no such thing as an autonomous independent.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame, I'll stake money on this. Notre Dame will join the ACC at that point and only at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that day comes, Notre Dame versus Miami will be the big rivalry within the ACC.
Well, one of the things that
rivalry weekend.
One of the things that Phillips has discussed in talking about what do we do to keep everybody happy is allowing Notre Dame to add to in essence pick the 5 schools they want to play.
Sure. It's all short term anyways, but yeah.
Yeah. So and Miami, the Miami thing, the Florida State Notre Dame rivalry came because of Lou Holtz's relationship with Bobby Bowden.
And they were both independent at the time.
They were both independent.
So they kind of needed to schedule.
Lou Holtz, when Lou Holtz got married, he spent his honeymoon in Bobby Bowden's house. Not exactly where I would want to go for my honeymoon, but okay, fine. But they were good friends. As a matter of fact, it was Bowden who got Lou Holtz the job at West Virginia. So they had a friendship rivalry, okay, where they they were buddies up until the game, and then for a couple hours they didn't, they were at each other. However, the rivalry between Notre Dame and Miami, that was different because Jimmy Johnson wanted the Arkansas job that Lou Holtz got. And he never liked Lou Holtz, and Jimmy didn't like Notre Dame. So that was a blood rivalry. Mm-hmm. That was, if we can beat you by 400 points, we're going to do it. And that's the kind of rivalry that even during the USC time, I don't think Notre Dame had.
No.
And no. I think so the fact that, and then the convicts versus Catholics situation.
It's so sellable. It's so marketable.
Was so hilarious.
Yeah.
Because there were more Catholics on the Miami team than there was on the Notre Dame team.
But that doesn't matter in marketing, right? Like it's just...
and to this very day, Jimmy Johnson will argue, and has told me 3 times, we won that game, And I was like, I know I was there. I know. Yeah, fine. You did, but you didn't. But it's, I mean, if you talk to players on both sides of that game, I mean, during those series, right? Mm-hmm. They will tell you how much they disliked each other to this very day.
Oh, yeah.
And I would love to see that one now that Miami's got, their act together with Mario Cristobal.
Yes.
And Freeman's done a really outstanding job at Notre Dame. I would love to see those two teams on a regular basis.
I think there's so much potential in that rivalry. I think you're dead on, Jim. And that's when people say, why don't you think Miami goes to the Big Ten? I'm like, just look at what they're going to be. I mean, if you got Notre Dame saying, hey, look, we can do this. And if people think they're not having those discussions, they need to kind of look and see how both Notre Dame and Miami got their AAU status at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That requires someone to sponsor them. Because like the same sponsor, you know who I'm going at here.
I know where you're going.
You know where I'm going. And it once again goes to those same folks at Stanford whom people never give enough credit to. Like those people are sharp, smart, and a little bit ruthless. And I think that was entire. And it's one of those great quid pro quo things that you can do because guess what? Schools get their AAU status taken away from them too.
All right.
So if when I saw that, when them get at the same time, and when you see schools like Virginia Tech and North Carolina State and others that had a lot more expenditures getting passed up, it's kind of like, okay, this is political. This means something. Let's just wait and see. But yes, I think that is what they want to be the anchor of their value, just like how Ohio State and Michigan is. Right?
Well, 10 years ago, the athletic director, Sam Jankovic, at Miami, was asked, what do you want to do athletically? And he said, I want to be the Stanford of the East.
Yeah, there you go.
They've had, Stanford and Miami's had relationships, in exchange and in academics and all that for the better part of probably almost 3 decades. It was Stanford who helped Miami, work through the medical situation and getting an R1 research situation at the University of Miami. And so the relationship between Stanford and Miami goes way back. Okay. And the fact that they're in the same conference now, I don't know. I've written it 4 or 5 times, and whether people want to believe it or not, I don't care. That Miami's only The only reason Miami would leave is if they're going to the Big Ten, and I don't think that's going to happen.
I think they only go if Notre Dame takes a cadre, and that would require the Big Ten to go to 24.
Yeah, they're not going.
And they're not.
Not this time. Maybe
No.
2036, who knows? But
and if you're Miami, why would you go and kind of, as I would say, bending the knee to that when you could stay here where you've already accepted some favors, and you stay here and you be like a main top brand for it.
Yeah.
That look at what they did last year, how much they made, and with the uneven payouts there, they're going to be just fine there, and being with the schools with the relationships that they want to have.
Well,
that's hard to tell most fans. Like they just
somebody said to me the other day, "Well, Stanford, what Stanford athletics? It's just terrible." And I'm like, well, you can call Jim Harbaugh and ask him about it. They've been competitive in football. They've been competitive in basketball. But what you can't overlook is that I'm doing it right now. Anyway, what they forget, this is a school with a $48 billion endowment.
Mm-hmm.
People,
whole bunch of billionaires.
People are walking around with Apple Watches. Okay, the Apple Watch was developed for Apple at Stanford University.
Oh, I know where you're going now. All right, keep cooking.
So please do not tell me that poor little Stanford has, had to take the crumbs that the ACC is throwing to them.
Yeah, no, they were never worried.
They came there and they planted themselves right there next to Duke University, and all their buddies, Miami, Duke, all the universities that they have strong relationships with. And oh, by the way, so does Cal.
Yeah, and by the way, Stanford and Cal both tried to join the Ivy League at one point in time.
Yeah.
Back when there was much less money and all this. They don't care about the travel. They care about who their students are networking with.
Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting, but I don't see the demise of the ACC. I don't see, and I don't think that that's going to, impact the Big 12 that much at all, frankly.
No. I think I have one. I don't know if you want to hear it, but I have one. I think there will be a trade of sense between the Big 12 and the ACC. I only think that one ACC school is even going to the Big 12. And I think one Big 12 school will go to the ACC, and that's BYU. They are changing and evolving there, but they have had both home and homes with Stanford and now with Notre Dame. They were the on-call replacement for USC. They've made a very big deal. I would say a little bit overly dramatic, but not undeserved in terms of certain chants and things within the Big 12 games that they have taken umbrage to. I think you know what I'm talking about. That can be used as a bit of a casus belli of sorts to try to get out of that Big 12 gore, because you don't want to have an ugly court situation, whatever, if they really want to go. And then if the ACC is willing to, let's say, Louisville come over for no or hardly any extra cost, well, then you kind of just let bygones be bygones. And that's where kind of the ACC thing just further advances. You bring in the BYU network into the ACC network, into the Apple network.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
The trade.
It's not a real trade. It's not like
I know.
But it's just
you can't do it. But yeah, the swap. Wouldn't it be a better situation if you swapped Louisville for West Virginia?
Not if you're like the Stanfords and the Dukes and all those, and you want to.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, like no, like in old terms, yes. And what they're trying to build, no, because Notre Dame and Stanford have already displayed a relationship with BYU.
Right. That's true.
BYU is building up their medical research side, which people don't realize. Like BYU is getting serious. They've displayed value in football and basketball. They are. It's another close one there for Stanford and Cal. And if the ACC is going to be able to also get up to 20, like the other three, where you have your 4 divisions of 5, it works out real easily to put Stanford, Cal, BYU, SMU, and I'm just going to say this, Rice, in one division.
Rice spending a lot of money.
Rice is huge. People don't take that seriously, but they're increasing their on-campus student population from 4,100 to 9,000 because they want to be like these other ones now because they want to compete. You got to have more graduates to have a higher chance of having guys go out and have money to then turn around and support.
Well, they saw what SMU did.
Sure, and you remember, I can't remember the name of the company, but there was this big story that came out about this fund that had to do with the Texas College Fund that was supporting this private equity fund to put out like $500 million.
Yeah.
Well, everyone was like, "Oh, it's Penn State, Syracuse." I'm like, it's Texas College Fund. Like, it's probably Texas schools. And if we don't hear about it real quick, it's probably privates. And so, a little bit after that, we hear about Rice is doing their whole stadium and surrounding area. I'm like, okay, there's one. And now SMU has announced that they're doing even more to their stadium again. I'm like, oh, there we go. It's SMU and Rice. And so they're going to be, Dallas and Houston situated in this conference, whom Notre Dame loves. They scheduled against Rice. Once again, we've talked about this. I know. So I know Notre Dame's scheduling is often, I just call it politically motivated, not in politics as people think, but like it's relationship based. It's like they're having conversations about other things. And, oh, hey, by the way, why don't we schedule a game? Yeah.
Well, I mean, not for nothing, as the old saying goes. They scheduled a series of games with USF.
It is not for nothing. That's why I say I think that if that swap, I don't know what we want to call it, so it doesn't get termed wrong, happens. I think if the Big 12 doesn't immediately get on the call with USF and say we want you right now coming in with Louisville, they might not get USF because USF might be one that the ACC is willing to take as a public, but just as one that kind of helps maintain some value. I think that if you're the Big 12, you have to jump on that so quick. And I know a lot of Big 12 fans will hate that too, but it's like, deal with it. USF versus UCF is going to be a good value for you.
It's been a nice little rivalry when they used to play it.
But UCF has fallen off, and they need USF to
the war on I-4. But I will tell you that I'm going to give some quick credit, and then I'll let you go. And that's to Michael, who came in and was tasked with, rebuilding this in an overnight situation, which he did.
Yes.
With Coach Golich and
stadium,
the whole situation.
Yeah.
And they turned it over. Now, for those who don't know, Michael Kelly was the chief operating officer of the CFP. So there's not a person he didn't know, conferences wise. And it was, again, I'm not speaking out of school here. Mike Kelly got when UCF was added to the Big 12, Bowlesby stopped on his way to UCF, had lunch with Michael, and said, "Look, we'll get you here sometime. It can't be, but we'll get you here. All right." Michael would have stayed at South Florida, but his dream job, he was from DC, his dream job opened up, and that was to become the AD at Navy.
Mm-hmm. Understandable.
Which is understandable. He was replaced by Rob Higgins. Rob was the head of the Tampa Sports Authority, which was in charge of bringing Super Bowls to to Tampa, as well as the Final Four for women and men in basketball, the Frozen Four in hockey, um, and of course, the multiple bowl games that they played there. So again, you went out and they named him the CEO of athletics. So they got that done. They got a $5.3 million television studio set up where they can broadcast games from the from all of the venues on campus, without ever leaving that building. And so they built themselves into a Power Four.
Yes.
If you go on campus, you will see a Power Four looking campus.
You cannot look at them as just some other we had to take another G6. No. I mean, they beat Florida. They have when I look at that team and they were playing other teams, I'm like, that team doesn't even look like a G6 team.
Mm-mm.
And now you've got Hartline as your coach.
Yeah.
You've got great administration. You've got a brand new state. I'm sitting here going, if I'm the Big 12 and I don't try to grab those guys as soon as possible, yeah, it's entirely possible the ACC grabs them. I mean, who was their sponsor for their AAU at the same time as Notre Dame and Miami and Arizona State? Who else got George Washington? But they were part of that. So I don't know exactly where to look at that, but they're there in some part.
Well, the NIL was put together by Will Weatherford of Weatherford Capital. So,
like I said, if I'm Big 12, I don't care what any of my parents are saying. The moment this all starts kicking off, I'm on the phone saying, come over here. We are your new home. We got UCF. We're going to put you in a division in the future with West Virginia, Louisville, and Cincinnati, all East. Come be here. It just makes sense. That's what I do. No, I don't care how much some other Big 12 fans have a pride attack over it, but they are not just in the old G6.
No, they're not. And I mean, I'm not just saying that because they were nice enough to give me a degree. I tell people I graduated with the W's, at the university. It wasn't like I went out there with any accolades, but it was. It's going to be fun to see how this whole thing shakes out. But I truly appreciate your insight and your ability to understand that this is not just about football.
Right.
And it goes
less so than ever
about football.
Yeah.
And
well, I always appreciate talking to you, man, about this stuff because you just have a wealth of knowledge that, unfortunately, a lot of people don't know. If there's ever any time you want to continue doing talks like these, I always have so much fun. We just blew through a ton of time on this, so I got to get going. And but anytime, man, reach out if you post something on this about this Talk Next, I'll just give you so many flowers because my talks with you are some of the best that I've had. And I've had them on a bunch of different shows, and these are some of the best.
I'll tell you that again. I think one of the things that makes this fun for me is that talking to you, I'm talking to somebody who I don't have to explain something to.
I get it.
And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. People who come on as guests, but I just think that while there are things that we may not agree upon,
sure,
we understand the logic behind it.
Yes.
And that means, okay, what you say, and I may disagree with it, but you know what? It could happen.
Yeah, and I never say like this is guaranteed. Although a couple things I'm pretty close to it, but it's just about analyzing stuff because last comparison I want to make for you is
Sure.
I'm trying to get people to understand what's going on right now. And
Sure.
it's like, think about when the weeks leading up to the NFL draft.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone has fun with that. They know they're being lied to, not lied
Right.
to, misled on purpose. And it's fun. But that's kind of what goes on here to a degree
Mm-hmm.
because very important plans are happening. And you can't have those, some of those could get blown up by too much attention.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta kind of misdirect a little bit. And as a little tiny burner with no name to it or whatever, I can say things and
Mm-hmm.
it's not a threat. So
No, yeah,
and so few people who follow, that's all I say is like just understand right now that if you see a bunch of stuff coming out from the big media, have a little bit of filter.
well, yeah, don't believe everything you hear, number one.
Because we are right there, man. We are right there.
And when people, and I'll wrap with this, when people call me up and tell me things from conferences or networks, right?
Mm-hmm.
My first thought is not, obviously it's thank you.
Yes.
Because I'm a polite person. But it's also, why did they call?
Yes. Oh my God. I get messages all the time like that.
Why is it that, what benefit did I get from speaking to the athletic director at X university, who I haven't spoken to in 2 years, and all of a sudden he just wants to catch up? Where is that? And that same, by the way, I use that same theory. You just talked about the draft. If Scott Boras gives me a call and says, "Hey, how's it going?" or Lee Steinberg or any of these guys, they're friends. I'm more than happy to talk to them. But why am I talking to these people? And the reason is we use each other, right?
Sure, absolutely.
And if I believe it, then I'll do it. I'll print it. If I don't believe it, I will probably still print it, but in a different light. But yeah, it's you have to question why someone, and misdirection is very important.
They generally have some truth along with the misdirection. So
oh yeah,
that's why I tell people when I make these kind of critique, I guess you say, of the media, it's not to say don't pay attention to them. They're not telling you anything. No, that's not true. They are, but you just got to understand like they're being used too. And so you just got to be able to kind of piece things together and say, this is awesome. This might be where they're trying to misdirect a little bit.
Well, and look, guys like Ross Dellinger, love Ross, good guy.
Oh yeah.
There are reasons why he, Adam Schefter, guys like that know things, and they're getting fed stuff because they want the credibility that Ross brings them or Adam brings them to come out and say things. And and it's the same thing that and Andrew Marchand, when Andy was doing the stuff out of the Post, now he's doing for the Athletic. My former partner at the Sports Business Journal, John Orand, now is doing for Puck Varsity. I mean, networks will call and tell them things. Andy is more of a gossip guy. John's more of a techno guy. He wants all kinds of information. Andy will be more than happy to you call him up and say this is what's going to happen, and he's going to.
Sources said.
Sources say.
Yep.
On background, this is what I hear, and they love that. So good on them. And it's going to be fun to see how it comes out. But absolutely, we're going to do this again in the not too distant future. So thanks so much for popping on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it was a good day for it. I had nothing going on. I was like, I'm going to go see what Jim's up to.
Yeah, well, you're always welcome. And we're going to have some more fun down the line for sure.
100%. Like I said, anytime, man, just reach out, be like, hey, and if I can, I absolutely 100% will.
You got it. All right. Thank you. And we're going to leave you today and have a great day. Have those of you getting ready for the 1:00 game on World Cup, you're 49 minutes late. So hopefully we'll get you to halftime and we'll go on from there. Again, thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Hey, thanks. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.